Hello and good morning, students. Welcome to the e-learning program initiated by Shri Gyanendra Vidyapeeth for the students of Standard 9th. Nice to see you once again in today's English Literature lecture for semester 1. In today's lecture, I will be commencing the second part of chapter number 2. As you can see the name being displayed on the board, the Shehnai of Bismillah Khan. In the previous lecture, we had introduced ourselves with the chapter that is the sound of music and very well acknowledged ourselves that the chapter is comprised of two parts. Part 1 was about a musical maestro. Even this is also about a musician, that is Bismillah Khan, Shehnai Wadak. The last lecture, the last part was also about one of the well-known, renowned and popular percussionists, that is Evelyn Glennie. We very well understood about the person section, that was an interview with Deborah Cowley, and we understood about the biography of Evelyn Glennie that was presented to us by Deborah Cowley. Well, before we proceed with the second part of the second chapter, that is the sound of music, and understand more about the musical maestro Bismillah Khan, an Indian Shehnai Wadak player, let us just quickly recapitulate and understand from the summary what we learned in the last part, that is Evelyn Glennie listens to music without hearing it, and discuss about the set of questions given to us in the think about section, think about the text and finish that part. Well, so have a look at your material with you. You've been given the summary for the first part. The Sound of Music, which is the name of the chapter, consists of two stories, of which the first story we've already read, about two popular music maestros, well-known musicians who are well versed with their musical equipment or musical instruments. The chapter is divided into two parts. Part 1 was Evelyn Glennie listens to sound without hearing it, and it was written by Deborah Cowley, which we acknowledged in the last lecture. This chapter teaches us about how hard work and determination to pursue one's interest serves well in the long run. That is what we learnt in the chapter about Evelyn Glennie. Whereas part 2, that is the Shehnai of Bismillah Khan, which we are going to read today and acknowledge ourselves, is about a legendary Shehnai player. Legendary means someone who is known from years and years and years and generation to generation, which has been passed over, handed over from one generation to another generation. So people from the olden time, or since Bismillah Khan started playing Shehnai and he became well known, a popular personality, so generations have known him. Decades and decades have known him. Therefore, he is a legendary personality. He has been known for many years now. And Shehnai has become a symbol or status which is directly connected with Bismillah Khan. So whenever you hear the name Bismillah Khan, immediately the first thing that comes to your mind is Shehnai player. Or if you talk about Shehnai player, the first name that comes to your senses is Bismillah Khan. So he is a legendary personality. Well, The Sound of Music, that comprises of two stories about the interesting lives of two different music maestros, of which the first life we read, understood, that was presented as an interview by Deborah Cowley. Evelyn Glennie, a great Scottish multi-percussionist. So, we are saying she is a multi-percussionist. Why am I saying multi? Because she is able to play more than 1,000 or at least 1,000 different instruments that we read in the text. So she has the ability, she has the potential to play 1,000 different types of instruments, which is a very wonderful thing, isn't it? And Bismillah Khan, a legendary Indian Shehnai player. Well, so as a part of the summarization of the previous part, that is the first part, here we have the summary of Evelyn Glennie listens to sound without hearing it. So we will go through it and quickly recapitulate what we learned in the last lecture, in the last part, and then we will connect ourselves to the second part. Evelyn Glennie listens to sound without hearing it. This biography, or this about the person, written by Deborah Cowley, throws light on the life of a famous Scottish multi-percussionist, Evelyn Glennie, and the struggles she faced to become a successful person, a successful musician, isn't it? We read about the details in the chapter. She is a talented performer who knows how to play several instruments perfectly. So she has acquired the knowledge, she has possessed the knowledge of playing different instruments in a very perfect manner. So perfectly she plays the instruments, she has learned despite of her physical challenge, that is being profoundly deaf. It is interesting to note that although she is completely deaf, she is profoundly deaf, she was not able to hear a bit of the sound. She has extraordinary ability to sense music. So how did she learn music? She sensed music. She sensed the vibrations of the drum, of the xylophone and the other musical instruments that we can think about. Well, so she sensed music, and with the help of her sensing ability, she learned music through her body rather than her ears. That is what we very well understood in the chapter as we read the lines. Evelyn was not born deaf. Further details had been given to us in the text when we read the chapter, that Evelyn was not deaf by birth. She was not born deaf. She was able to hear, but she lost her hearing ability by the time she was 11 years old. So gradually she lost this. Potentially she was having the ability to listen, but as time passed, as time elapsed, right from her birth till she was 11 years, it was discovered by her mother that she was not able to hear. And finally, when they got her checked up from the doctor informed that her hearing nerve had got damaged. So it was not that she was deaf right from the beginning, right from her birth. Gradually, by the time she was 11 years, by the time she was 8, it was realized, and by the time she was 11, she was completely deaf. Whilst she faced difficulty in hearing, that did not bog down her determination to pursue music. So she did not lose heart, though she liked music a lot. But when she realized, when she came to know that she will not be able to hear, or she is losing her hearing ability, she did not give up, she did not lose her heart, she did not get disheartened. She had determination, she put all her efforts and hard work, and with her strong determination to pursue music, she acquired the knowledge of different instruments, and she became a multi-percussionist and a most sought one after many other popular musicians. Well, Evelyn was keener to learn the xylophone at school when percussionist Ron Forbes recognized her potential. So when some teachers were discouraging her because of her shortcomings, her disability, there was one teacher, that was Ron Forbes, who recognized her potential, and he encouraged this girl, he encouraged Evelyn when she was 8 years old to play xylophone or to learn musical instrument. We know what he had done. He had tuned 2 different drums at 2 different notes and asked her not to listen to her by ears, perhaps to sense it or feel it some other way, and that is what she realized, that she could sense the vibrations. Well, he encouraged her to sense music through her body instead of her ears, and after that what happens? There was no looking back. She never looked back. She always kept on progressing gradually, time and then, when she was encouraged and boosted by her teacher Ron Forbes, the famous percussionist. After that, there was no looking back. Evelyn continued to scale newer heights. So she became better and better time and she became the best one. Well, ever since, and she auditioned at the Royal Music. So after having learned the basic things, or after having prepared herself to give an audition in the Royal Music Academy to take admission over there to learn professional music, she scored one of the highest marks in the history of Music Academy. So when you want to take admission, you have to give an entrance test. Similarly, when you want to take admission in the Music Academy or music school, you have to pass an audition, and that is what she did. Well, she passed this test. She received several laurels, accolades and awards for her extraordinary par excellence performances on the global platform for her excellence performance throughout her experience, throughout her life. So she received several laurels, several titles, is it laurels, accolades or awards for her extraordinary par excellence, means to reach to that particular height, to reach to that level or level of performing how professionals or people who could hear used to perform at par with those people. In 1991, the Royal Philharmonic Society honored her with a prestigious award, and that was the Soloist of the Year. Well, gradually when she started learning music, she used to perform in an orchestra, a part of it. But gradually when she had confidence, when she became more and more confident, when she had perfectionized her work, when she had become perfect in her playing of the instrument, she started performing as an individual, as a soloist. Solo performances she did. Therefore, she was awarded with the Soloist of the Year award in 1991. Well, further we read from the text, Anne Richelin of Beethoven Fund for the Deaf Children, isn't it? We came across this part also. There was a person, Anne Richelin, who ran or who had a fund for the deaf children. She told about Evelyn that Evelyn is a beaming inspiration. She was a great inspiration for similar deaf children of hers in studying in that or being in their institution or in their deaf children, especially for specially abled people. She not only said about deaf people, but she also said about specially abled people. Now, what is specially abled people? People who lose some abilities. When God takes away some abilities from them, He felicitates them or awards them, gives them some extraordinary potential, just like Evelyn got the potential to sense music. So we can say specially abled people. Rather than saying physically challenged people, the better word would be physically, specially abled people. They have got their own special abilities. When they lose one ability, God provides them then with some more abilities, some special abilities. Thus, Evelyn Glennie continues to set an example by motivating everyone around her with her determination and delights millions of people with her outstanding performance. We came across this, isn't it? So, Evelyn Glennie was a role model and ideal for many deaf children, for many specially abled children, for handicapped people, and not only that much, above it all, she entertained, she delighted, she made people happy, she made them cheerful, and not only few people, millions and millions of people become happy when they hear the effortless music that she plays by herself. Well, this was the summarization of part 1, where we understood about Evelyn Glennie listens to sound without hearing it. Well, we have a similar chapter about a music maestro, Shehnai Vadak, or the Shehnai player, a legendary Shehnai player, Bismillah Khan. But before this, we have thinking about the text, where we will be discussing the answers for a few questions. Answer these questions in a few words or a couple of sentences. Well, the first few or the first two are very simple for you to answer. You will easily find the answers from the materials from the text given to you. How old was Evelyn when she went to the Royal Academy of Music? Very easily you will be able to find out the answer. You don't require my assistance over here. Second one, when was her deafness first noticed and when was it confirmed? So we have an incident when she was asked to play the piano as she was waiting for her turn, and when she was told to play the piano at the age of 8, isn't it? And she did not make any movements. That time her mother had realized that there was some problem with Evelyn, as though she had not heard and therefore she was not making any response. This was the time when her deafness was noticed. So you will be able to find the answer from the text. Well, moving along, we have another set of questions to answer. Answer each of these sentences in short paragraphs, 30 to 40 words. Let's discuss this. Who helped her to continue with music? What did he do and say? So we know that it was the famous percussionist Ron Forbes who initially spotted the potential within the girl when others were discouraging her. So let's read the answer. The percussionist Ron Forbes spotted that though Evelyn was profoundly deaf, she had the potential to play a musical instrument. He tuned two large drums to different notes and then urged her to not listen through her ears but to sense the rhythm or the resonance some other way, in some different manner, and that is the time when she realized, that she could sense certain notes in different parts of her body. We know very well about it, isn't it? She used to sense from the upper part of her waist and the lower part of her waist two different drums. Well, this is how she sensed music and learned music. The next question, name the various places and causes for which Evelyn performs. So for what reason she plays, for what reason she performs, so we need to write that. Evelyn is most sought after multi-percussionist with the mastery of some 1,000 instruments. So she is one of those who is the most in demand after many others. So Evelyn is most sought. So people like to hear, there would be similar like her, isn't it? Who would be able to hear and they would have become multi-percussionist. She is not the only one, but she is the most sought after many multi-percussionists with the mastery of some 1,000 instruments. So some around 1,000 instruments she is able to play and perform upon. Apart from giving concerts, so she gives concerts, maybe to make money. Apart from that, she performs free for prisons and hospitals. So the people who live over there, they also require some entertainment, some recreation. So for them also, she goes there and plays and gives them entertainment and performs for them, and that too for free. She does not take any charge for that. So in a way she is doing some kind of social work, kind of kindness she shows towards them. So you can say she is a kind-hearted person. She also gives high priority to classes for young musicians. So apart from her concerts from which she earns money, she does these two kinds of works also. She performs in prisons and hospitals for free, and she also gives more significant importance and priority to musicians, young learners. So people who come to the class for learning music. Well, according to Anne Richlin of the Beethoven Fund for Deaf Children, she is a shining inspiration for the deaf, as they see that there is nowhere that they cannot go. So when these deaf children listen to the story or listen to the success story of Evelyn Glennie, they think in their heart there is no way to go. We can always success and excel in life. So she becomes a role model and ideal for these deaf children. Therefore, Anne Richlin says this, that there is nowhere that they cannot go. So the deaf children think that there is nothing that they can't do. They can do everything in their life with just strong determination, just like Evelyn did. Well, after these two questions, we have got the third set of questions. Answer the questions in 2 or 3 paragraphs, around 100 to 150 words. How does Evelyn hear music? Evelyn was profoundly deaf due to gradual nerve damage. So when you write these answers, remember when it is around 150 words, try to assimilate or put in the information that is in and around the question. Do not simply straight away write the answer. As the question is, how does Evelyn hear music? We know that Evelyn hears music by sensing the vibrations in her body. So do not give a straight answer, try to develop the whole answer as it is developed over here. Evelyn was profoundly deaf due to the gradual nerve damage. However, she was able to sense the musical notes in different parts of her body. She learned to open her mind and body to sound and vibration and did a lot of hard work and determination. These are the few lines that tell us about how Evelyn learned or how Evelyn hears music. So the information is very important what you put inside an answer. So try to build up the answer with the information which is woven around the main theme. Therefore, you can see how the entire theme has been woven. Further, she explained that music poured in through every part of her body. So she used to use each and every part of her body, her fingertips, her skin, her ear, her eyes, everything. Whatever she could make use of to sense music, she made use of her. Even she used her hair to sense the vibration of the music. Well, so she explained that music poured in through every part of her body. It tingled in her skin, her cheekbones, and even in her hair. So you see, everywhere she used to feel and learn music in that manner. When she played the xylophone, she could sense the sound passing up the stick into her fingertips. So when she used to play the xylophone, what used to happen? She used to feel the music through her fingertips. The vibration used to pass through the xylophone stick and travel all the way through her fingertips up to her body. Well, on leaning against the drums, so when she used to bend herself, incline towards the drums, bend towards the drum, she used to remove her shoes so that the vibrations could pass through her bare feet and run up her leg, move up her legs. Not only this much, she attended the Royal Academy of Music's 3 years course, and that is how she learned music, isn't it? So she did an intensive 3-year professional course after having done the basics from Ron Forbes, after having getting encouragement from Ron Forbes. So she attended the Royal Academy of Music for 3 years course and went to become the world's most sought after multi-percussionist with a mastery of some 1,000 instruments. So this is how the entire answer has been written to elaborate and write in 150 words. Well, there are 2 more additional questions for you to practice. How has Evelyn Glennie become a source of inspiration for who are handicapped, and what was Evelyn's main achievement? Well, these 2 questions would be a part of your homework. So write the answer to these 2 questions and submit it as a part of your homework after the lecture. Third question is also given to you. How could Evelyn go right to the top? So altogether you got 3 questions to answer over here. How has Evelyn Glennie become a source of inspiration for who are handicapped? What was Evelyn's main achievement? And the third one, how could Evelyn go right to the top? How did she reach right to the top of her achievement of her career? So write the answers to these 3 questions as a part of the homework and submit it accordingly after the lecture. Well, this was all about the first part, which we recapitulated, we summarized, and we went through the different questions that we were supposed to discuss. Well, after this, we will be commencing the second part of this chapter, the sound of music. That is about a music maestro, the Shehnai of Bismillah Khan. Let us see and introduce ourselves to the introduction part given to us. Think of the Shehnai. The moment you think of the word Shehnai or the musical instrument Shehnai, you all must have seen Shehnai, isn't it? Well, and the first thing that you probably imagine is a wedding or a similar occasion or function, isn't it? Shehnai is a very commonly played musical instrument in weddings, in functions, in wedding functions particularly. So, many times you say that when are you going to play the Shehnai, that is, when are you going to get married? That's one of the way of asking things, that when is a person going to get married? The next would probably be Ustad Bismillah Khan. So the title given to him as a mark of respect is Ustad. Ustad means Guru. So teacher. Because he not only pursued the learning of the playing of Shehnai, but he is also a teacher. He is Ustad. He is a great Ustad he is a very perfectionist about playing this particular Shehnai. Therefore, he is being titled as Ustad. Well, so Ustad Bismillah Khan is one name that comes to our mind the moment we think about Shehnai. So altogether 2 things come. One is a wedding function, and second is the person associated with the Shehnai as a legend, as a symbol. The Shehnai master playing this instrument. Well, we have the chapter to understand about Bismillah Khan and the story about Shehnai. Before this, let us quickly understand the story given to us about the Shehnai that came into existence in the first paragraph. Well, Emperor Aurangzeb banned the playing of musical instrument called pungi. Well, a very colloquial and a very common name, isn't it? You must have come across the word pungi, isn't it? A kind of an abusive word. In the royal residence, for it had a shrill, unpleasant sound. When I say a pungi bajwe, so sometimes when things go wrong, we say it went all in a haphazard manner or did not work according to our understanding. Then we say pungi baj gaye. So pungi is a word which is associated with something wrong happening or wrong doing. Well, so here the pungi had a very shrill and an unpleasant sound. So you see, it had an unpleasant sound, and therefore the Emperor Aurangzeb did not allow it to be played in the royal court. You know, isn't it? Aurangzeb, a leader or say a king, who was in the history of our country. So Aurangzeb had his own darbar, his own royal court, where you know that they used to have musicians and ministers. So they had their own courtiers, out of which they had got some musicians also. So in the royal court, in the royal residence of Akbar, Aurangzeb, he had banned, he did not allow pungi to be played. Why? Because pungi was creating an unpleasant shrill sound. Therefore, pungi became the generic name for reed noise makers. So something that you just want to make noise with, just make sound, shrill sound, just to create an unusual sound and noise. Pungi is played. Okay, pungi baj gaye, a big noise has happened. So it became a generic name for reed noise makers. Few had thought that it would one day be revived. Some thought about it, that with the passage of time, pungi will again be revived. Again, it will be used in the court or the royal court of Aurangzeb to be played. But it did not happen in that way. A barber of a family of professional musicians who had access to the royal palace. So there was a barber who had the access, who was having the permission to visit the royal court. Because who visits the royal court? Only when the king or when Aurangzeb wanted his special people to come to the court. Not Tom, Dick and Harry. Anybody could come to the court. It was only the people who were allowed and permitted to enter the court could get into the royal court. Is it? So there was a barber of a family barber of the professional musicians who had access to the royal palace. So he was allowed to come over here, decided to improve the tonal quality of pungi. So he once thought that if pungi is so bad, it has got such a unpleasant shrill sound, so why not to improve the quality of pungi? He chose a pipe with a natural hollow stem that was longer and broader than the pungi. So pungi was having a narrower pipe, a narrow thing. So he chose a broader pipe and a longer pipe and a natural hollow stem, and made 7 holes on the body of the pipe. And what did he do? He created 7 holes inside them. When he played on it, closing and opening some of these holes, soft and melodious sounds were produced. He played the instrument before royalty, and everyone was impressed. What happens when this barber once tried to experiment with a piece of hollow pipe, making 7 holes inside it, and then opening and closing these holes as per his understanding, as per his knowledge, as per his experimentation? He was successful to create some sound out of it when he used to blow air into it. And he played this just like playing the pungi in the royal court for the Aurangzeb to enjoy. So he came over here and he played it before the royalty, that is the royal people over here, and everyone was impressed. The instrument, so different from pungi, had to be given a new name, but it was not pungi, isn't it? It was a different instrument that was created, it was invented. So a new musical instrument was invented by this one of the members of this barber family. So now, since a new instrument had come into existence as an invention, nobody knew what its name was. Even the barber had not thought about any name. So it was required for that instrument, for that thing or that piece of thing that was creating music, to be given some name. Therefore, it had to be given a new name. As the story goes, since it was first played in the Shah's chamber. So Shah means royal. So Shah's chamber. So he was the Shah of that place. Aurangzeb was a Shah over there. Shah Aurangzeb. So Shah's chamber, and was played by a Nai. Nai means barber. Nai is the Hindi name for barber. So the instrument was now named by these 2 words, Because it was played in the royal court of Aurangzeb, in the court of the Shah, therefore Shah and Nai. So Shah and Nai, Shah Nai. And that is how the modified name came into existence, Shehnai. A Nai playing a musical instrument in the court of the Shah, therefore Shehnai. And this is how Shehnai acquired its name, got its name from the royal court, initially played by a barber, a Nai. Well, so this is the history or how Shehnai came into existence. Well, second passage. The sound of the Shehnai began to be considered auspicious. As Shehnai was played, it became very, very auspicious, very, very important, very, very holy thing, a kind of a holy symbol. It became auspicious thing for special functions, special programs. Shehnai was played, so it acquired the status of an auspicious thing, and for this reason, it is still played in temples and is an indispensable, not removable, cannot be separable, inseparable, indispensable, cannot do away with, you cannot do away with, indispensable component of any North Indian wedding. So whenever a North Indian wedding takes place, Shehnai has to be a part of the music over there that is being played. In the past, Shehnai was part of the Naubat or traditional ensemble of the 9 instruments found at the royal court. So it was a part of those 9 instruments that were used in the royal court to create music over there, or traditional ensemble of the 9 instruments. So there were 9 instruments that were played in the royal court, and Shehnai got its position in one of those instruments over there. Till recently, it was used only in temples and weddings. The credit for bringing this instrument onto the classical stage goes to Ustad Bismillah Khan. Here comes the intervention of Ustad Bismillah Khan, or the introduction of Ustad Bismillah Khan. So, till recently, it was used only as a purpose of musical instrument for playing in temples and weddings. That was its restriction. Up to that only it was used. That was its identity. But to bring it as a part of classical musical instrument, the entire credit goes to Bismillah Khan, Ustad Bismillah Khan. He was the one who gave more significance, importance and credit to this musical instrument by playing it and bringing it to the forefront of the musical instruments. Well, let us read a few things about Bismillah Khan. As a 5-year-old, Bismillah Khan played Gilli Danda. Well, you know, Gilli Danda is a traditional game played by children, but it is not more played by in this techno-savvy generation today. It's a physical game played by children, a long stick being beaten by a small one and played and flipped over. So Gilli Danda, a very popular game, particularly played by street children or village children, near a pond in the ancient estate of Dumrao in Bihar. So he belonged to Dumrao, a place, a village in Bihar. That is where he belonged to. He would regularly go to the nearby Bihariji temple to sing the Bhojpuri Chaita. So what this boy used to do, a 5-year-old boy, Bismillah Khan, he used to go and visit the Bihariji temple to sing a Bhojpuri piece that is called Chaita, at the end of which he would earn a big laddu weighing 1.25 kg, a prize given by the local Maharaja. So this is how he used to win prizes. That is a 1.25 kg laddu because of performing that Chaita over there. Sing the Bhojpuri Chaita, a song over there, a local song. Well, this happened 80 years ago, and the little boy has travelled far to earn the highest civilian award in India, that is the Bharat Ratna. Well, earlier he used to win a 1.25 kg laddu for giving performance, the Bhojpuri Chaita that he used to sing in the temple. But this incident is 80 years old, and this boy of 5 years who used to win a 1.25 kg laddu as an award travelled a lot in his life, has travelled so far in his life that he has been awarded the highest civilian award in India, and which is Bharat Ratna. So from winning a 1.25 kg laddu, he travelled all the way in his life, achieving success in his life, and he has been felicitated with the highest civilian award, that is Bharat Ratna. Well, the next passage giving us the information about the life of Bismillah Khan. Born on 21st March 1960, Bismillah belongs to a well-known family of musicians from Bihar. His grandfather Rasul Baks Khan was a Shehnai Nawaz of Bhojpur King's Court. So, music was in their blood. It was passed on from generation to generation. You can see his grandfather, what is being told. His grandfather used to, Rasul Baks Khan was a Shehnai Vadak or a Shehnai Nawaz, and he used to play Shehnai in Bhojpur King's Court. So, from the royal time, from the time of the kings, they are associated, or Bismillah Khan's family is associated with the playing of the Shehnai. So, naturally, he would be learning this as a descendant. His father Paigambar Baks and other paternal ancestors were also great Shehnai players. They were also very good Shehnai players. They also had the mastery of playing Shehnai. So quite naturally, the child must have learned from them. The next passage. The young boy took to music early in life. So at a very early stage in his life, he had an inclination towards music and he started learning music. At the age of 3, when his mother took him to his maternal uncle's house in Benares, which is now called Varanasi, Bismillah Khan was fascinated. He was completely attracted. We came across the word intriguing, isn't it? Fascinated. So he was fascinated watching his uncles practice the Shehnai. So when he saw his uncle practicing Shehnai, he was attracted to that, he was fascinated, he was very curious to learn and know and play according, or play just like his uncle used to play. Well, so he had an inclination and attraction to this. Soon Bismillah Khan started accompanying his uncle. So initially when you learn from your ustad or from your guru, you have to sit with them, try to understand all the musical notes and the things. So this boy, at the age of 3 or a little above than that, joined his uncle when he saw his uncle performing and practicing, doing the riyaz. So he got associated with him and sat with him. Soon Bismillah Khan started accompanying his uncle Ali Baks to the Vishnu temple of Benares, where Baks was employed to play the Shehnai. So whom was he accompanying now? Whom was he sitting with now? His uncle Ali Baks. Now Ali Baks had the role of playing the Shehnai in the Vishnu temple of Benares. So when puja would be happening, when music would be playing over there, musical instrument would be played over there in the temple, the role of Ali Baks was to play the Shehnai over there, and that is how the child also gradually grasped the knowledge of Shehnai. Well, Ali Baks would play the Shehnai and Bismillah would sit captivated for hours on end. So the child was completely captivated, his mind was completely captured by the sound of that Shehnai. He would be longing to learn and think that one day even he would be able to play it so beautifully. So his mind was completely captivated and attracted towards the sound of that he used to sit for hours and hours over there till the program was over or till the function got over. Well, slowly he started getting lessons in playing the instrument and would sit practicing throughout the day. Gradually, when his uncles must have seen that he had an inclination, he had the interest to play, and it was their family work, isn't it? It was within their blood. So slowly he also acquired lessons from his uncle in playing the instrument and would sit practicing throughout the day. So the entire day he would practice to become more and more perfect on the playing the Shehnai. For years to come, the temple of Balaji and Mangala Maiya and the banks of the Ganga became the young apprentices' favorite haunts. Apprentice means people who are learners, those who are learning the trade or learning some music or learning an instrument, called apprentice. Came across the word earlier also. a learner who learns his trade or his profession is called an apprentice. So these places, that is the Balaji temple or the Mangala Maiya and the banks of the Ganga, became a place for young apprentices, young people who are learners, a favorite haunt where he could practice in solitude, in great dedication, so that nobody disturbs him. In complete dedication, solitude, he was able to practice and grasp the knowledge. The flowing of waters of the Ganga inspired him to improvise and invent ragas. So, the flowing of the water, which creates sound, isn't it? When the water flows in the river, it naturally creates sound. The rippling sound is there. That is also inspiration for many musicians. So, with the help of this, also he created many ragas. Many ragas he created, and to improvise and invent new ragas that were earlier considered to be beyond the range of the Shehnai. So there were some rags which was not possible for a Shehnai vadak or Shehnai player to produce compared to the other musical instruments that people used to play, the drums or the guitar or the piano or some other musical instruments which could create some rags. There was a limitation with the Shehnai. But sitting over there near the Ganga, the flowing water, listening to it, he helped him to improvise and invent new rags that were earlier considered to be beyond the range of Shehnai, which Shehnai could not produce. Now he invented, and Shehnai, with the help of Shehnai, those rags also could be played. Well, the next passage, number 6. At the age of 14, Bismillah accompanied his uncle to the Allahabad Music Conference. At the end of his recital, Ustad Fayyaz Khan patted the young boy's back and said, "Work hard and you shall make it." With the opening of the All India Radio in Lucknow in 1938, came Bismillah Khan's big break. He soon became an often heard Shehnai player on the radio. So you see, here is the passage giving us information about the professionalism or the professional career that Bismillah Khan started. So at the age of 14, Bismillah got a chance to accompany his uncle to Allahabad Music Conference. So music conference was held in Allahabad, and these are places where you get a chance to participate so that you learn more, you enhance, and people come to know you, isn't it? So at the age of 14, Bismillah Khan got a chance to accompany, to go along with his uncle to an Allahabad Music Conference. And at the end of the recital, when the recitation of the recital was over, when the program was over, when they had recited the things, when they had played the instruments over there, in which Ustad Bismillah Khan also was participating, or Bismillah Khan was participating, there was a teacher, Ustad Fayyaz Khan, who happened to see this young boy play over there as a part of the group. So he patted the boys and looked at the potentials. He was able to see the potential of this child, and therefore he patted and told the boy with an encouragement, "Work hard and you shall make it." That is how he encouraged the boy, Ustad Fayyaz Khan. With the opening of the All India Radio in Lucknow 1938, so we come to know another piece of information that the All India Radio in earlier times, in 1938, we did not have the satellite televisions or internet connections, isn't it? So means of recreations were quite less, entertainment were quite less. Radio was one of the most used recreational or entertainment mediums or mass communication. So All India Radio was established or started in Lucknow in the year 1938. This was a great chance, a big chance for Bismillah Khan to perform on the radio. Many players, many musicians used to perform, they used to have programs over there, and people used to listen. So Bismillah's big break came when he started performing on the All India Radio. He soon became an often heard Shehnai player on the radio. There could be other Shehnai players also, but the way he played was enjoyed by people a lot. So he got a great chance to perform and practice and become popular among the people, because radio was a means of mass communication. When you are playing on a platform like radio, more and more people know you, and when you do a good job, they try to know who the person is, and that is how you gain popularity. So this was a great chance for Bismillah Khan to become popular nationwide in the entire country. Next passage, passage number 7. When India gained independence on 15th August 1947, Bismillah Khan became the first Indian to greet the nation with his Shehnai. So you see, he was the first one to play Shehnai in an independent India. He is the first one to embrace the country, to make the surroundings of the country enlightened with music with his Shehnai. So he was the first one to do it. He poured his heart out and Rag Kafi from the Red Fort to an audience which included Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So he performed in front of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, the then Prime Minister of our country. He poured his heart out into the Rag Kafi. So that time what did he play? Rag Kafi from the Red Fort. The performance had taken place at Red Fort to an audience which included, so Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was also one of the participants in the audience over there. So he also listened to Bismillah Khan. So he got a chance to show himself, present himself to the Prime Minister of the country. Well, who later gave his famous Tirist with Destiny's speech. So later on, who gave his famous Tirist with Destiny speech. Well, we take a pause today over here with this 7 passages being read and understood well. The homework has already been discussed with you. See you soon in the upcoming lecture. Till then, take care. Have a nice day and goodbye.